Hey there. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Cyreta Laws-Frumau. I'm a performance and mindset coach with the Proctor Gallagher Institute. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Today, we're continuing in our series through this book, Think and Grow Rich, and we're on chapter 7. Now, if this is your first time joining me, we have been going through the book and we are spending some time to understand some of the principles in this book. Now, Think and Grow Rich is a 1937 classic. It was written by Napoleon Hill, and it has sold over 15 million copies worldwide. Now, this book, Napoleon interviewed over 500 successful men at the time that he wrote this book. So this book has some really critical principles if you want to improve your wealth, but not only your wealth, because my mentor, Bob Proctor, used this book to completely change his life. When he met his mentor, Ray Stanford, he was unhappy, he was sick, he was broke. And this book completely changed his life. 360. He became happier, he improved his health, and he went on to earn a lot of money just using the principles. So that's the main reasons why we're going through this book. Additionally, Bob read this book for his entire life. He passed away earlier this year in February, but up until his death, he was reading this book every single day. Of course, not every chapter, but he would read parts of it. And he implemented it into his life. And that's how I've been mentored. So when we go through this book, I want you to take away that from it, use the principles and see and be inspired to take action, be inspired to take a chance on something that you've been thinking of, maybe to move you forward towards your goal. So here we are again on chapter 7. And chapter 7 is, I believe it's the biggest chapter. Chapter 7 is the chapter on organized planning. Now, this is the 6th step towards riches. And this chapter was written so that we can crystallize our desire into action. We speak a lot about application of these principles and taking action. Of course, you can have a dream, you can have an idea, but until you actually put it into action, it doesn't really make a difference, right? So this is the 6th step. And our last chapter was on imagination. And Napoleon starts out by reminding us that that imagination is the workshop of the imagination is our workshop, right? So he reminded us of that. And also we spoke about synthetic and creative imagination. And synthetic imagination requires us to put plans into action. So we need to plan. So that's what we're going to do. So you already have your desire. You know why you want it. You are using auto-suggestion. So daily, you are reminding yourself of the thing that you want, okay, which is reprogramming the subconscious mind. And that we need to do. So let me just gather my notes. Saturday morning. Such a busy day today as well. I'm really excited about today. So looking forward to it. Okay. So we've learned that the first step towards riches is a burning desire, like I've said, and we need to place this burning desire into our synthetic imagination so that it can be arranged and organized. And that's what we're going to do today, okay? And he reminds us here of the 6 steps, the 6 practical steps, which is your first move in translating desire into money. So you might have a desire for something, but money is a good way to measure it. You know, yes, you want to change the world, and yes, you want to improve your life and other people's life, but money is, when you quantify it into money, it helps you to better put it in some kind of, it better organize it. So we're using money here. So the monetary equivalent of your desire. And he starts out by saying, oh, and I also want to remind you that, you know, we said in chapter 5 that we needed a plan to execute our desire. And sometimes persons make the mistake of daydreaming, thinking that daydreaming will bring riches, but this is not so. This is never so. You can daydream and you can come up with an idea, but it's time for the planning and the action. So the principles in this chapter, number 1, the Mastermind Alliance. What can you, and before you think about forming a mastermind, think about what you can contribute to the group. So it's not about you getting something from anyone else. It's also what can you contribute. So think about that. And then on page 156 to 157, which is the very beginning of the chapter, he gives us instructions on how to form the mastermind. And you should read this carefully. So I will just read the points. I won't read the entire thing. So he says that you should bring together a group of people and make use of the mastermind principle, which is described in a later chapter. So this is not the principle being described now, it's just being mentioned. And before you form the mastermind, you know, decide what advantages and benefits you may offer the individual members of your group. The third point is agree or arrange to meet with your mastermind at least twice a week. And the fourth is to maintain perfect harmony between yourself and every member of the mastermind. And that is good for good relationships in anything. Okay, and then the second principle that's outlined in this chapter is about sound plans. So how do you know your plan is sound? You know your plan is a sound plan if when you execute, you achieve success. If you do not, if you meet upon failure, that means your plan isn't sound, and that's fine. That's okay. If when you devise a plan and it doesn't work out, it only means that tweak it a bit and then come up with another plan. And it's very likely that your first plan will not be the perfect one. That's okay. And the third principle, which we have spoken about already, is meeting upon temporary defeats. And this is actually in tandem with the second one, which is a sound plan. So when you meet upon temporary defeat, just know that you need to persist and keep on moving towards your desire. Okay, so those are the 3 highlights of this chapter. Well, not of the chapter, because I am breaking up this chapter into several parts. So this is just the first part for today. The 3 stories that I want to mention, number 1 is this gentleman by the name of Samuel Insull. Now, Samuel Insull, he inherited the Insull fortune. Unfortunately, with the Great Depression, he lost over $100 million. But the Insull fortune was built upon sound plans. It was built upon sound plans, but the business depression really forced him to change those plans. And then when he changed it, they weren't sound. So he changed it, but the plans he changed it to weren't sound. So he suffered temporary defeat. Unfortunately, he saw this temporary defeat as permanent defeat and he gave up. Napoleon describes it that he lacked the fire of persistence to build his plans. It's really sad. I actually went on to do a little background check on this guy, and he died a broken man. He died penniless, and he just never regained that confidence. And so Napoleon says here on on page 159 in my book, his experience turned out to be failure. It will be for the reason that he lacks the fire of persistence to rebuild his plans. No man is ever whipped until he quits in his own mind. So he only lost because he convinced himself that he lost. The second story is the story of James Hill. Now, James Hill was a gentleman that tried to raise capital to build a railroad from the east to the west. At first, he failed. So he experienced also temporary defeat because his plans were not sound. So he created new plans and he went on to victory. So this is the opposite of Samuel. So we see how important it is to persist and to just keep changing your plans and making them better. And the third, similar with stories that we read about Henry Ford and Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison, you know, failed 10,000 times before he perfected the light bulb. And he didn't see it as, it also so much depends on how you think about it, because he didn't see it as a failure. He just saw it as 10,000 ways how not to do it. Okay, this didn't work. Okay, change it. You really have to have this strong mental attitude to keep going after something, especially when you keep putting in effort and it's not bringing to you the results that you want. That's why it's also important how you talk to yourself and being, you know, in the right mentorship, being around the right people that will inspire and motivate you every single day. So those were our 3 stories. And to summarize all of this, 1, select members of your mastermind who do not take defeat seriously. Because remember that you're meeting with these people, you're planning with these people. And so it's very important that they're of the same mind that you are, as it says mastermind. So they are of the same mind and the same energy and the same vibration that you are, and the same tenacity and persistence, so that that energy will transform to everyone in the group. Okay, so they should be as resilient as you are, and you should definitely be resilient. And just the other summary point is that when defeat comes, accept it as a signal that your plans are not sound. So if you meet defeat, your plans are not sound, rebuild those plans and build again, begin again. And my third point is, if you give up before you reach your goal, you are a quitter. So, you know that saying that a winner never quits and a quitter never wins. So if you want to win, if you want to achieve your desire, you just don't quit. Just don't quit. Don't give up, right? And Napoleon says in this book as well that use these principles to make money. And I'm going to read these 3 principles to you about not quitting. It's on page 160 of my book. He says, if you give up before your goal has been reached, you're a quitter. A quitter never wins, and a winner never quits. And he advises to put this, to write out this sentence and keep it somewhere where you can see it before you go to sleep and every morning before you go to work. The second point is, when you begin to select members of your mastermind group, endeavor to select those who do not take defeat seriously. We just spoke about this. And the third point is that money of itself is nothing. It's just matter. We spoke about this on the chapter of imagination. Money is only matter. It cannot move, it cannot think or talk, but it can hear when a man who desires it calls it to come. And that's where I'm going to end this. And just to say, like that last part where he says, if man calls it, it comes. You cause it because money is energy and your energy. So you cause it when you're in the right vibration to attract it. And that is doing your affirmations, maintaining a really positive attitude, and just keep moving towards your goal with persistence and determination. So that's it for me today. That's the first part of chapter 7. I will see you in my next video as we continue through this chapter. Have yourself a beautiful day.